came faster than I thought, but it is time to start planting a fall food plot for this upcoming deer season. Last weekend, I was out here and I sprayed some liquid fertilizer on my screening and on the clover that I have out here. It's been really dry the last pretty much all of July and the beginning of August. I wasn't planning on planting this fall plot until there was some rain in the forecast, and happened to look the other day, and we have rain in our forecast Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this coming week. So even if a couple of those days miss, if we can get some rain one or two of those days, that's going to help get this plot off and going. And if I can get it in the ground now and get it started now, that's just going to help us get that much closer to September 15th starting deer season. One thing I want to challenge you all with, and maybe many of you do this, and if you do, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too. I think one of the things that happens all too commonly with hunters and food plotters is we neglect every other part of the year when it comes to food plotting and when it comes to nutrition for our deer. And it's very important to not just wait till the fall and then plan on doing your food plot. There's many reasons for that. One of the main reasons is, how are you going to hold those deer all year? Maybe you have great habitat, maybe you've got great timber and things like that, and a fall food plot is just kind of a quick little last minute attraction point for those deer. But if you can already have them attracted to your area, living in your area, finding their nutrition in your area, or at least being one of the main nutrition sources for them or attraction sources, that's huge whenever it comes to deer season upcoming. They're going to already be conditioned to be here September through January in Missouri or whatever your deer season dates are, whatever state you hunt. So having nutrition year-round and attraction year-round is key. So getting out there in the spring, getting a good clover plot in as your base staple is what I recommend doing. You want to get your screening in if you need any of that. If you can get a grain crop in like milo, I've got a great stand of milo this year. It's got some foxtail in it, which I actually don't hate because it's going to force the deer to have to hunt a little bit more for it, and hopefully it'll last longer. Usually at this time of year, they go in and eat all of it off, and it's gone. So I'm hoping this year I've got maybe a bigger spread of it than I have in the past. I'm hoping that this year they'll be in it a lot more. But getting a grain like that in the ground, soybeans, whatever it is that you may plant in the spring and in the summer, that way you've got that ready and taken care of. So if you end up in a situation whenever August comes around where you've had dry weather, you don't have a lot of rain in the forecast upcoming, you're not getting so close to deer season that you're going to have trouble getting anything to establish before deer season starts, and then whenever your frost hits, and then whenever your cold temperatures hit and the growing season is over. What are you going to do if you have nothing forage-wise for the deer and you run into that situation? So to me, a fall food plot is not the primary focus of my food plot program or my food plot management. My primary focus is, what can I get established in the spring and summer that's going to carry me through the whole season? Maybe it's a clover that's going to keep regrowing. Maybe it's milo that's going to hopefully last me a little ways into the deer season, soybeans, something like that. Those are just basic ones I can think of off the top of my head. But that's my primary focus and my primary source of nutrition and attraction for the deer. All I'm using a fall plot for are in those areas that maybe the spring and summer I didn't get a good stand of something. So here behind me you can see the what we call the walkway here. I have a deer stand right down behind me about 30 yards. This is a very secluded strip. It doesn't get a lot of sun, so it doesn't always grow the best. It has in the past, but the last couple of years hasn't grown that much. So this I had planted to the same blend that I had out there where the milo is. And then I also planted some grow forage brassica in it, which is a really awesome high yielding brassica that will regrow actually as the year goes on. As it gets browsed on, it'll regrow. I had that planted in here, and with lack of sunlight, lack of moisture as the year went on, it just didn't establish very well. So I came in and somewhat terminated this. I didn't mow it. I just ran the disc over it once. It actually worked up pretty decent considering how dry it's been. And that's where I'm going to broadcast a lot of this. There's another patch back in the timber that I'm going to broadcast some fall crop into and hopefully get a good stand there. Just give me one more source of nutrition. So they've already got their milo. They've already got their clover. They've already got that out there for a stand. And this is just going to be extra, and hopefully it pans out. I've got some wheat and rye to put in with this too. If nothing else, I'll have that to lean on. Last year, winter rye was a huge attractant for my deer, and they were in it all the time, almost all hours of the day. So what am I planting? For this fall, I have a bag of Grandpa Ray Outdoors 3-way annual clover, and I've got a bag of fall draw, which has also annual clovers in it. It's got rutabagas, turnips, radish, and a couple other forages that I think are going to be really huge if they come up. The nice thing about fall draw on a blend like that is you've got biodiversity. Some areas, somebody may have a great growing fall or a great growing season where they're getting every one of the forages in the blend to come up. Sometimes, most of the time for me, I'll have one or two or three of them come up and the other ones don't. So you have an opportunity for something to come up that's going to be attractive to your deer. So why am I planting an annual clover, especially during the fall? As long as annual clover doesn't head out with a bloom and doesn't go to seed, it will regrow for you. So if you can keep it clipped back without heading out, it'll continue to grow for you that whole spring. Or if you plant it in the fall like I'm doing now, my goal here and my expectation is it's not going to get to full maturity. It's not going to head out before it gets cooler here, before a frost hits. And then what's going to happen? Next spring, it'll come up with whatever wheat and rye are still left there. It'll come up with them, and I should have a nice stand of clover next spring that comes up from what I planted this fall. So just some strategy there to plan ahead and be able to have a good plan for next year. So that's my plan for this fall planting. I'm going to get to check trail cameras here pretty soon and see what all deer activity I've had going on, see what kind of buck inventory I have going on, and I'm looking forward to seeing what all's out there. So I ran through and disked this already. What I'm going to do now is broadcast seed. I may come back with the harrow and run over it with the harrow once to try to just kind of level that seed into the soil a little bit. None of these seeds have to be too deep, the clover, the brassicas, that sort of thing. They don't need to be too deep for planting. And then if we do get rain Monday through Thursday or any of those days, that's just going to help get that seed to the proper depth and hopefully get it started germinating, and we'll go from there. After I get that harrow done, I'm going to run over it with liquid fertilizer. The fertilizer I have is an 11-4-9 blend, so it's a little more high nitrogen, but it's also got that potash in there and a little bit of phosphorus for it too. So that's what we're going to try to do, and looking forward to how it goes. And hopefully we're going to have a good stand here for deer season coming up here in just about a month. So looking forward to that. So something for you to think about. If you haven't thought of fall planting that way before, I look at it more as that sort of savior crop that you can plant for the places that you planted in the spring and summer that didn't do so well, or maybe they've already been picked over. Maybe there's just bare dirt. That's what you can use your fall planting for. Thank you for watching Farming for Whitetails. We'll see you next time. You've got an opportunity for something to come up at least that can be attracting, You have an opportunity for something to come up that's going to be attractive to your deer.